All right, Marguerite, thanks again for taking some time to speak with us. I'd like you to tell me, if you would, about your headaches when we first met toward the beginning of the year.
They were pretty horrible. I was in bed a lot, and I have 3 kids, so that was kind of hard. I get up in the morning and get them out the door, and they come home, pretty much end up back in bed. I wasn't able to do housework or much of anything, really.
And so you had headaches 24/7?
24/7, yes.
And how
woke up with one and went to bed with one.
And how bad on a scale of 1 to 10 would you say they were?
On a worst day, probably a 9. On a good day, probably a 7.
Okay, so pretty bad. Now, tell me some of the things that you tried to treat your headaches before we met.
Let's see, I had tried lots and lots of different medications. Botox, which helped some. They had done numerous injections at the pain center. Those kind of helped with maybe the neck pain, but not the headache pain ever. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you all the treatments I have had.
Okay, so
they were down to the stimulator, and I didn't want to do that.
Gotcha. So ultimately we decided there were a couple of nerves in the back of the head that were causing this, and we actually operated on those in May.
Yeah.
So tell me what the surgical experience was like.
Okay, so I think I was hoping for an instant fix. I mean, obviously I've tried so many things, and watching all the videos on YouTube, I was excited about the results. So it was a little harder, I guess. I was expecting, like I said, an instant no headache result, and it was a little tougher than I thought that first month, maybe month and a half. I had some other personal things, and I have other pain issues in my neck, so yeah, it was a little longer recovery.
All right, so you said that the recovery was tough for for about 6 weeks or so, and then it got better.
It got better.
And now you're 7 months out. What are your headaches like now?
I don't have any. I have maybe a twinge of a migraine up here with my menstrual cycle, but the 24/7 headache I had back in the back of my head is completely gone.
And so have you decreased your medication use?
Oh yes, I've decreased it enough to even get off my stomach medicine. I just had my physical, and my kidneys and livers that weren't looking so good before are looking good again, so I'm excited about that.
And are you able to do things that you weren't able to do before?
Oh my gosh, I can get out of bed without having to wait an hour for pain medicine to even kick in. I can get up, I can take my kids to school, I can do all kinds of things. Housework, the other day I cleaned my entire house and made cookies to pick up the kids. I felt like a good mom again.
All right. Well, thank you for taking time to talk to us. I'm so glad you're doing so well.
Me too.
All right.